Hi, on this week we cover on our questions and answers with Caroline and myself, dental sticks. We also cover the latest news and what the product range that we're going to be increasing, and also a host of different things including behavioural issues and much, much more. Come and join us on your favourite podcast channel, on our YouTube channel, or come and join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Hi everyone, it's Mark here. I'm trying to see if I can do YouTube and Facebook at the same time, which is probably not a good idea, but we'll give it a shot. So Caroline should be joining us very soon. Let me just make sure I am in the right place. Hoping I'm in the Facebook group. Yes, I am. That's good. That's good. So while waiting for Caroline to jump on, a couple of things I want to jump. I haven't been on here for a wee while, so I wanted to really chat about Bella+Duke and our mission as a company, because I think again quite often the missions get missed of companies and why they start off. And really our goal when we setting up Bella+Duke just over 18 months ago now, was to provide a wellness brand, something that you could trust, something that you just knew was right for your dog. And it's about wellness, so it's about health, it's about longevity, and it's about not only about how long your dog lives, but also the health of that dog through that period. Because you want that dog not to be on medication its whole life. And I think one of the major pillars of longevity is through nutrition. So that's why we focus on nutrition to begin with. Let me just change that. There's a little light on my bald head. There we go. That's better. Hi, Rach. So, hi, Tim. How you doing? So part of what we're building is something that's robust, something that has longevity in it, and it is bigger than just Bella+Duke, and it's building, I guess, like a tribe of people who just believe in doing something right for their dog or their cat. And quite often, you know, I see decisions made, and it's made maybe for the shareholders and not the stakeholders, which are you guys. So that's really important from us. From the word from the very start was to make sure that we looked after you, the customer, and obviously more importantly your dog. And sometimes we have to make decisions based on offering the best things, which means we can't be the cheapest. But we know when we go to bed at night that we're doing the right thing, and that's the thing that excites me every single morning. And some things we don't get right straight off the bat, and we're always learning and developing, and we won't follow everybody else just because they have their recipe. We want to understand why is that thing in that recipe, is what benefits it offering to the animal, and does it have any detrimental effect to the animal. So we're one of the first companies to get rid of all lectins, or at least reduce it to bare minimum from our ingredients. Things like butternut, you know, all these things which you'll find in lots of different products, not only raw but also cooked as well. You know, out there, you know, and we're only really understanding what lectins do to the body, and there's more and more research comes into it, and obviously Rowan's the expert on that side. So again, I'm really grateful for everybody who really contributes to the community, to the tribe. People like Judy, she's just on there all the time, and a whole heap of other members. I did actually have it, and I pressed the wrong button. And I want to give a big shout out to a few of them. Well, I'll find them. And also I'm waiting for Caroline. I can't see Caroline yet to join us. So let's get Caroline on. So yeah, Rach doing a phenomenal job. Fabienne, really helpful. Again, Fiona, Sarah Kirk, Alison Frost, Michelle Shaw, Gemma DeBoer, Leslie Harris, Goosey Goose. Again, a big big shout out for you all really contributing to the group. So thank you for that. Interesting, I saw a result. Somebody did a testing on food, which was really, really interesting. And one of the tests they did over 2 years was they wanted to see and prove that a complete raw meal has all the things that is required for a dog's health. Now, this study was done. Let me see if I can bring it up to remind me. Can't find it right off the bat, but basically there's a basic nutrition that pet food manufacturers have to hit, and often you'll see nutrients and things added to dog food. The thing about raw is all the ingredients is actually naturally in the natural state. It's already there. So a lot of these rules were brought in for processed dog food because they have to add it in, because either they're not there originally or they've been lost in the cooking process of the food. So this study was done over a raw food feeding for 18 months, or 2 years, sorry, and they tracked the dog's health over this period of time, and also the nutritional on these 5 meals, and it was showing that they were actually had more than recommended, i.e. they hit all the markers on it. But there's also studies out there now that that show that adding certain supplements in does not be absorbed by the body. Thankfully, it was Jonathan Self, that's right. It's not absorbed in the body the same way as it is naturally. So if you find it in meat or vegetables, it's much easier for the body to consume it. So to take that and bear that in mind as well when we look at these studies. Other topics. So things that are exciting on our coming up right now are things like the funding. We're just actually doing another round of funding. This is exciting because it's going to just calling me to try and get on board. So the DC, we're going to a size. It's actually going to be, the distribution is going to be growing at 3 times the size. So we're going to a place 3 times bigger. And what that means is it allows us to take on more stock, and also to take on hold more stock, have more variety. So really, from you guys, I'd love to know, going forward, what would you like to see in our ranges? Have you got any ideas of things you would like to see us start promoting and adding to our range as well? I know we've got some ideas as well going forward, really exciting ideas. So that's going to be important. And I'm still trying to see if we can get Caroline on. Venison, yes, definitely venison. I've been looking at rabbit, I've been looking at grouse, I've been looking at a whole heap of other things as well that we're looking possibly to bring on as well. So that's exciting. Also, we've got a new website. I'm absolutely in website mode next week. So we've got a brand new website we're launching next week, and we've got new partners. We're going to have this new app hopefully launch fairly soon as well. So there's a whole heap of stuff all coming together, which is really, really exciting. So yeah, if you guys have any particular products or things you want us to have a look at, we're looking to increase the herb range, actually be able to have more stock as well. That's important for us as well, because quite often we run out, and it's just because we've got a limited amount of space, and you guys just buy stuff really, really quickly, and there's always more than we thought. So I think bringing in a larger range is really, really exciting, and be able to hold more stock as well. So these are all plans going forward. Obviously, we're testing the cat food. Turns out that cats are quite fussy. Who would have guessed? I'm not sure. We're getting feedback on that, so we're working on that as well going forward. So there's a whole heap of different stuff. Now, I can't for some reason seem to get Caroline on here. She doesn't seem to be joining in, so I'm not sure why that is. But just yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if you've got any questions about products or anything like that, do let me know while I'm on here. And I'll see where Caroline is. Hold music. So we'll see. Caroline had all the questions. You ready? So she's the organised one. So she did have them all ready and to answer them. We'll see how we get on. Yeah, so yeah, rabbit ears, duck necks. Yeah, I absolutely looking at doing individual bones and necks and a few other ones as well. So those are earmarked. You like what I did there? For it. Also looking at raw bones as well, which we can send out. Also looking to increase the actual range of herbs to help with more of a holistic view. Also single proteins as well, where if you're looking to eliminate certain things. Hello. I can see you now, Caroline. Caroline's watching. Are you on your computer, Caroline? Because you have to be on your phone if you want to join. We know this. We've been down this route so many times. Let me just see. You got to go on your phone. Let me just see. Bulbs. Anyway. Yeah. So single proteins where we're going to have maybe 3 or 4 actual proteins where it's just that particular protein. So if you want to eliminate ingredients from a dog's diet to see if there's any in particular causing intolerances, skin flares up, that sort of thing, we're going to have them available shortly. And then we're going to be creating protocols where if a dog has a specific issue, we will then look to put them on this protocol. So maybe they'll do 2 or 3 things for a month, and then we'll move on to the next set of things, and the next set of things, and then the next set of things, ultimately to get where we can, if we can eliminate a lot of these food intolerances, that would be fabulous. And there was people asking about offal. You mean individual offals? I mean just like the heart. I know our heart's not offal, is it? Liver and stuff like that. We're doing more treats, and we're looking at developing that treat range as well. So again, if you've got any specific meals you want us to look at, we're always open for looking at that. I think we just want to consolidate what we have right now. We have probably the largest range in the working dog range anyway. I think we've now got 9 different flavours there, and ultimately we'd like to bring that across all our different ranges as well. But if there's anything in particular, of course, we'd love to hear from you. I know certain dogs just don't want offal. They can't have offal in their diet, so that'll be something we're looking to introduce in the future for sure. Ox offal is complete. It's a bit concerned. Okay, yeah. So I think when we do the single proteins, this will be where we can deal with that issue. But the problem is you can't get enough offal of certain proteins. Just the animals just don't produce enough of it. So we have to mix it with to get that balance right of the 80-10-10. But I think also if you're looking to eliminate with a view of getting them onto the fuller range again, because I think what happens is once a dog's got an intolerance, you can actually get rid of that intolerance over a period of time. And I think Roman spoke about, almost like 30 days, that if you eliminate the thing that's causing the issue and then slowly after 30 days reintroduce it bit by bit, then you can actually, you can do it. You can actually introduce them to the full range and actually reduce or eliminate the intolerances altogether. Can't see you on my phone. Can you invite me? How do you invite? Let's invite. Sorry guys. Invite Caroline. Yeah, we'll see if this bad boy works. Hopefully you've been invited now, Caroline. I need my kids to sort this out. I used to sort out the video, but this thing is just going way beyond me. Anybody else feel like that? Remember Betamax VHS? Caroline, anything else going on there? I think I've answered all the questions so far. Maybe she's coming on. It's hard work being like these ones. Oh.
Hello!
You there?
God!
We got there in the end. I'll just
You didn't invite me.
Oh, right. I didn't know that, pal. Anyway,
Ah,
I
makes a
got all the stuff
difference.
that I was bothered about talking about, but yeah, doing this to a camera by yourself, it takes a bit of practice, doesn't it?
It does. I'm trying to balance you.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going to balance you. I'll put you down there.
My mother's been
How's
trying that
that?
for years.
Oh,
Ah, beautiful. Sorry, you got clean nose. So you got a lot of these questions, didn't you? From the Facebook group that you've been doing some research and you've been researching.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there was a lady. Now, let me just remind myself of her name, Avril. She's just about to start on Bella+Duke, and she was wondering about whether she could still feed cheese. Cheese is not great for dogs. It does give them the runs. It's not great for digestion for humans as well. So it's one of those things we just milk products leave to one side. She also mentioned about pineapple. I've got no idea whatsoever. So we'll have to bring Rowan in on one of those.
I know for humans, pineapple's good for inflammation, but I don't know how that affects the dog. I have no idea. That's definitely a Rowan Wendy question on the old pineapple.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And the other one that really got my juices going was about Dentisticks.
Oh, okay, so you were chatting about that. So my understanding of Dentisticks is no, never. But why?
Ah, but why indeed? Now there's lots of weird ingredients that go into Dentisticks. One of them is your meat derivatives, where in actual fact there only is about 4% of meat derivatives, and meat derivatives are beaks, heads, toenails, all that lovely stuff that we can't process, really eat and yummy. But added to that, we have got sodium tripophosphate or something, which is a preservative used in detergents.
Oh, really?
And
so let me just, what I do is I'm going to order that in Tesco's to see if I can get, what was it again?
Yeah, what you want is sodium tripophosphate, which is a preservative used in detergents and other industrial products.
Right.
There is also the smoke flavour, which is actually cancer-causing. There's potassium sorbate, which has a negative effect on immunity and also causes cancer. There is also in these Dentisticks iron oxide, which is a skin and eye irritant and causes lung inflammation. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at all the ingredients, in America, they have to list all the ingredients.
Yeah.
In the UK, if you look at the back of a packet of any dog treats, and Dentisticks included, there is only a splattering of ingredients. We do not, by law, for whatever reason, have to write down all the ingredients on these foods, or on these, I wouldn't say food, is it really? On these products that they're manufacturing to give to our dogs. So Dentisticks are, I suppose, a way for manufacturers to use up all the odds and sods.
Oh, I know the technical term for this. I know the technical term. It's full of shite.
Oh, shite, yeah, like shite. So really, when we go Dentisticks, yeah, people say, oh, but my dog needs to clean the teeth. Well, Dentisticks aren't going to clean your dog's teeth for anything. And even there are other things on the market that are green and they're still not going to clean your dog's teeth. On a raw diet, your dog's not going to get plaque because there is no carbohydrate there. And if your dog wants a really good dental workout, neck workout, then antlers, there's anko roots, but also a little treaty weety, lovely fish skins, or some of our dried treats we've got there.
So if a dog then has come to it who's slightly older, obviously hasn't started, maybe been on kibble, like my dog was, do you still go and brush their teeth? Do you do that to get them started? Then you don't have to do it that often because it's going to be maintained?
Well, some people brush their teeth. I don't.
Your dog's always been on raw from day one?
No, Piper's what, 15 now. He started on raw when he was about 4 years old.
Okay.
But if they do have some old scale or anything like that, then what I find is I get a huge knuckle bone.
Yeah.
Let them chew the cartilage and all the meat and lovely stuff off it, and then I ditch it, because the strong, those leg bones, the molecular structure is quite strong, so you can crack teeth. But what they'll concentrate on first is getting the cartilage off and all the sinews and little bits of meat, and that's really good workout for them. But I always ditch it when it's all the nice stuff is off.
And just to confirm, the knuckle bone is raw.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, if you use any cooked bones whatsoever, the molecular structure changes, especially if we're looking at small bones like chicken bones and ribs and things like that. The molecular structure changes, and it makes it really brittle, and they can splinter, and that causes problems if the dog is going to swallow, and it'll cause sort of holes and things like that. So yeah, and it also doesn't digest very easily.
Okay, so did you have any more questions? I've got some questions coming up here we can jump onto if you want, or have you got some more?
I've just got one I would like to go on to about recall. A lady also asking what treats to use for recall. Now, I'm not a great one for using treats in training constantly. A lot of people do, but I find if you use them as and when, they've got a much more powerful result. For recall, if you're always calling your dog in the house for a cuddle, it'll learn recall at home and in the garden. If you don't do that at home and you think it's not going to happen outside, movement is the most powerful tool. So call your dog to you and run away. Your dog's going to go, woohoo! You know, be exciting, be inspiring. And when your dog gets to you, have a game, go and find a ball, give it the odd treat every now and again, but don't use it every time. And what you can use, liver treats, little heart snippets, little fish skins and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
So it's about you, Cluedo, not about what you think. Huh?
Monopoly, Cluedo, anything like those kind of games? No?
Oh, I prefer Connect 4 myself.
Oh, you're a Connect 4 baby. I thought you'd be a twister, actually. I thought you'd be a twister.
Oh, God, I'm too old for that now.
Run away, so they just want to do the natural instinct, which is chase you, and then give big cuddles when they get there. And,
yeah, absolutely. Movement in any way of when you're connecting with the dog is the most powerful tool in your kit of dog communication. It's getting the dog to inspire to be with you. They love chasing squirrels and cows and all the rest of it. It's because they're, you know, it drives them.
Makes them
you want to drive your dog, so be that fun person. Don't just go. So many people walk along the road with their dog on a lead, on the telephone, going heel, heel, heel. You are so boring.
So be present with the dog. So
absolutely.
Here's a question. Here's a question I heard, and you might correct me, like you often do. Is now if I'm training my doggy, and I use their name like Benji or Peanuts or Freddy, come back, Freddy.
Oh, Peanuts, I like that one, yeah.
I like that one. Yeah, shout that across the park. See how many people turn around. So when you're shouting this out, you tend to use their name and aggression. What I heard was a good way. Say there's another dog coming and you want your dog to come with you. Rather than shout his name, I used to shout this way, so they wouldn't associate their name as a bad thing. It would just, and I would use this way as a way of coming with me, and actually they would just come rather than shout their name. Often you would shout Peanuts, come here, Peanuts.
Absolutely, but then it's like the same thing. Like if you want your dog, if you're asking your dog to do anything, it's like me saying to you, Mark. You're going, yeah, and I haven't given you anything to do. So if I say, Mark, this way, and also I run that way because it's what you do that's more important initially than what you say, they'll learn the word by what you do. So Mark, here, this way, whatever it is, and tonk off in the other direction, you're going to get your dog's attention. But also, sometimes if your dog is racing towards a road or anything, and you really need that dog's attention in a split second, and your recall's a bit dodgy, do a shout, do an oi, do a clap. You've got to do something really different to what you normally do.
Right.
So the dog goes, whoa, what was that? And then you go, whoa, here, and sorry, and rush off in the other direction.
Yeah.
Don't run towards the dog, because then you're chasing the dog and the dog goes, woohoo, game of chase.
You know what's been happening recently, actually, and I don't know whether it's just the winter time, but I've been walking past other dog owners, and I'll keep my dog under control. Yet they still let their dogs come bounding towards my dog. And they go, oh, it's all right, my dog's friendly. And I'm like, but mine isn't.
Yeah. And it's like,
and I'm like,
well,
you know, if I ran over to your face and went, and started sniffing your
I know.
You'd slap
It's
me.
like that's happening to me as well, because, you know, Piper's 15 and so's Trin.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to interact with some complete asbo. And I go, your dog might be fine, but quite frankly, that approach is really rude.
Yeah.
There is no respect of me, my dog, personal space. I don't want your dog saying hello to my dog. So butt out. I do try and be very polite, but sometimes when it's your dearly beloved child or dog and someone is encroaching on their space, oh, my heart just starts going.
But I go home, because usually I'm sort of like meditating, being present in the walk, so I don't let it affect me too much. But yeah, I mean, it's more just educating.
You're better than that than I am.
When I was going to do an advert on, if you went and bought a dolphin or a lion or a panda, you go back random, you would research everything about that animal, wouldn't you? You'd find out what kind of enclosure you need. For a dolphin, it's kind of obvious. What kind of food you need, what, you know, drinking, all these kind of stuff. But often we get dogs and we don't do the same research as you would if you bought one of these wild animals.
Yeah.
But they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're domesticated, but they're still wild.
Yeah. Also, but what I also find so strange is that you wouldn't go and train a gorilla to sit, stay, heel. You wouldn't do that to an ostrich. I don't know why I came up with that. Or your panda. You would actually connect to it on its level using its own communication signals that you will have learned. So why on earth are we still doing sit, stay, and heel for dogs, where we should be? Everybody hears about canine communication signals and then they just ignore them.
Yeah.
Why not work with your dog? This is what, you know, I've been working on, and so's Leslie, for the last, 20 odd years. And it works beautifully. Just work with them. And everything a dog does is communicating. Everything a gorilla does, a horse does, a cow does, is communicating with other animals and you around it. So you wouldn't go up to a field. If a cow was charging towards you, would you go, and sit? No, you wouldn't. You run. But
so,
anyway, you were gonna sort of say about what we're all about, Mark, Bella+Duke.
I did do that while I was trying to get while I was waiting for you, so I won't bore them to tears again. But thanks for reminding. One of the things that came up, and I think quite relevant, and I'd like to talk about it, is this issue with a raw manufacturer having to do recall due to salmonella. So the way that we work as a company, just to address this, is we do what we call a positive release. So what we don't do is we'll get our food batch, and until we get that result back, we won't actually release the food. So fundamentally, we want to make sure that food's going out safely. So that's what we do. So that's the difference. A lot of companies will send the food out and then get the results back in, but we've decided never to do that. We always do what we call a positive release. So we release food once it's been tested and we've got the results back in. The other thing, I don't know if you saw, Caroline, I know you're following around. Looks like you've got an earthquake going on. But it was,
sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to plug my battery in.
With the cats and the TB. And I thought it was interesting because you often wonder who puts these articles out there. So there was 3 cats out of all the cats in Britain supposedly got TB from potentially from the food. Again, there's been no actual proof made of that. But what's interesting is, if you want to discredit a whole industry, you don't mention a company name, because if you mention a company name, then you can say, well, it's not us, it's that company, just like what happened with this food recall and salmonella. So I think that's really interesting. I think someone's put that out because they want to go, hey, we want to brand the whole raw feeding with the same brush by not mentioning a brand's name, which is really unusual. But I was chatting to you about this earlier on, Carly, wasn't it? And we were chatting about what happens in America. So if there's a recall in America, this is
absolutely.
Really tell us about that.
You know, we've got a website here in the UK called All About Dog Food, but they've also got All About Dog Food in the USA. Now, in America, there is a huge amount of information readily available, and we can find this on the internet, about various foods that have been recalled, why they've been recalled, and you know, it's a really good body who sort of controls that. Here in the UK, it has we've tried to do that, but it hasn't happened. Still, this information isn't readily available. You have to really, really search for it. And they're not duty bound to go and tell everybody that there is something wrong with this dog food. But also, interestingly enough, since 2015 in America, there have been very few recalls on salmonella, campylobacter, anything for kibble dog foods.
Kibble being dry dog food, by the way. If people don't know what kibble is dry dog food.
Dry dog food, yeah. So we've gone all American, haven't we? Kibble.
American.
Yeah, since 2015, in America, there have been no cases, as far as I could find on the internet, where dry food or this manufactured rubbishy food has been recalled. So I delved a little bit deeper, and the reason why it's not being recalled and you're getting a rise in raw food recalls is that with the dry food manufacturers and the rubbishy food manufacturers, they are not actually testing for Campylobacter and Salmonella anymore. Therefore, they're not getting the recalls. It's all, you know, although it just beggars belief, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, you know, this is where the power of these groups come together. I'm going to tell you something about milk. Do you want to hear my little thing about milk?
Go on then.
Okay, so I heard this, so don't take it as gospel, but this is what I heard. That in America, obviously they pump estrogen into cows, so they're completely milking all the time, even when they're pregnant. I mean, how bizarre is that? And how unnatural. But because they're being milked all the time, they get cystitis in the teats. And that
cystitis?
Cystitis and otitis.
Or mastitis?
Mastitis, one of them, one. Told you.
Cystitis is down.
I need smart people around me. So, mastitis or whatever it is. So, but anyway, there's pus getting into the milk, right? And what they want to do is they want to be allowed to increase the amount of pus which is allowed in milk. So there's every time that gets put off milk. That's
but also, are you getting that from a website called PETA?
No, I got it from somebody else that I did the thing called WildFit back in the day.
Right,
and,
because again, it's like our food. We test for any bacteria. It's like when milk goes through the system, it's tested. And if there's any bacteria, it gets ditched, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know. This is America, so I don't know what the deal is, but the Americans seem to be at a completely different.
But no, I think, you know,
but it's bizarre,
it has, here in the UK, our milk is really clean.
Good. So I think, you know, what's strange though, if you thought about drinking your mother's milk, you go more in your tea. If you thought bat milk, more, you know, rat milk. Imagine how long that would take. But we think it's okay to drink calf milk. Now that's the power of marketing. I mean, that's it right there. You know, there you go. Hello, there's a milk for a calf, and we're happy to drink it. You know, and yeah, I still like a latte occasionally, but obviously I've moved to coconut and oat milk. Anyway, so yes, that was all the topics. I think we've covered everything there. So sorry about the slow response at the start there and me dribbling on, but again, just I love what we do. I love what Caroline does. I love what Rowan does. I love what the team does. All the group, you do an amazing job helping each other, and this is totally feels like a tribe, something, a movement, and we just want to keep pushing this movement forward. And what's really exciting is just seeing the differences in the dogs, and that's you guys coming back to us. So when I wake up in the morning and I read these things, believe me, it's just totally motivating. And it just, you know, whenever I need inspiration when we're having a bit of a tough period or whatever, I just think of my dog Young lying on that veterinary table, being put to sleep, and I think, you know, what a waste of life, you know. And I was just like, I don't want that to happen to other people. So, you know, seeing the differences in your guys. Somebody was actually somebody asked about the chicken. Did I cover that off, the chicken one? If your dog's allergic to chicken, colitis. Did I cover that? So the one about the colitis one is an interesting one. So I don't know the honest answer to this, but I think once our gut is working properly and healthy, I think it should be able to deal with most things. But you have to slowly reintroduce them. But they did that with the peanut, didn't they? Not saying that they do peanut, but my sister has peanut reaction to peanuts. And they started testing people with really tiny amounts, so their body got used to it. And I think if you know that a dog's got a certain protein that it has an intolerance to, just eliminate it for at least 30 days, and then just very slowly reintroduce it. But you need to heal the gut and do everything else in between. And again, Rowan's covered this loads of times on food intolerances. I think we've got a podcast on it as well.
No, so I also think a lady asked a question, because we have ox liver in quite a few of our food. Mm-hmm. And she was saying, will her dog become sensitive to that? Well, if you're feeding along with a grain, which will mean your dog has a leaky gut, then possibly, but it's not huge bulk anyway. It's just good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, small. And apparently the offal doesn't work in the same way as meat. So you know, I've heard this several times. I'm not actually seeing any research on it, but often this is quoted that offal doesn't affect dogs in the same way as the meat set part of the animal does. Again, I'd love to see research done on that if it's not done already. And that's why another point is I'd love to be doing research. So in the future, I'm trying to get through the universities to see what sort of research we can do together. A lot of them aren't coming back to me. That just shows you where they're at. But we'll find people out there who are keen to come on board and help us do some studies on that. And we'll maybe do some fundraising and see what research we can get, because I'd love to get answers to these questions. And often the questions are more important than the answers. But yeah, I mean, going back to it, it's just brilliant to see all these dogs really coming on and becoming healthier. And if you've got a fussy dog, stick with it, like bear with it. Like once you get past that fussy stage, and you got people
absolutely. And you know, with fussy, I've written a blog, and there's 4 different solutions. And you know, dogs are opportunists. The opportunistic method is the way to start with first, and the recall method. Get the dog into it, because it's so different. Although you know it's delicious food, and you go, this is the best food for you, it's different, and dogs do suffer anxiety with change, more so than us, because you know, we can understand more change than they can. It just lands on their plate and they go like that. But there was also one question that I did notice earlier on. A lady, she's got 2 7-month-old little dogs, and one is having a go at the other on a walk, going on about litter mate syndrome. Well, it's whether you have 2 dogs the same age or different ages. You know, treat them as individuals. Don't walk them on the same side. Work with them individually. not everything must happen with them together, because they're just packing up with one another and they're not taking any notice of their human being. So it's really important that they're not joined at the hip, that everything doesn't happen with them at exactly the same time. They need to be working with you, and you need to get a rapport with the dog, with each dog as an individual.
So different with kids. Like my boys, when I separate them, it's bliss. Going to town shopping with them, it's like, oh, God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did that meditation come in?
But you see, as they get older, when they're in their 30s, you'll be able to go shopping with them together and it'll be blissful. But we go through childhood, adolescence, we go through all the tantrums and all the testosterone surges and various other hormone surges. Yeah, you're going to have slamming doors and everybody pigging and poking. It's natural. You need to work through it as the adult.
Thanks, ma'am. And Lee just come up with one with a 4-month-old pup gone off the food. So, like, tons of stuff happening. Puppies growing. Puppies maybe getting used to not being with you in the house all the time. There's tons of reasons why a dog will go off. I wouldn't worry about it. And I know I get a bit of backlash on this, but I'm a massive advocate of fasting anyway. And I don't think it does any dog any harm to let their body have a few hours, even if it's half a day or a day, actually healing, because that's what would happen in the wild. They wouldn't eat all the time. And one of the things I'm looking to test and see who else up for it as well. I've been doing this eating within 6 to 8 hour period of the day. So I will not eat until 12 o'clock. And I'll then finish my last meal, try and finish at 6. And then I won't eat until the following 12. So I've literally got 16 to 18 hours where my body is not trying to metabolize food. It's actually healing itself and doing what it naturally would do. Because I don't know if you've watched Alone on Sky, but on there they actually have, the people are eating for like 3 or 4 days. They're eating just tinier bits. And that's how it would be in the wild. You wouldn't catch prey all the time. You wouldn't catch fish all the time. So our bodies are designed to, you have a meal, and then you have a certain amount of period where you're actually getting hungry, but your body's then repairing itself. So I actually think, in terms of longevity, all the research coming out in the longevity shows that actually it's healthier for your body. And there's research coming out with cancer and all these kind of things. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. We don't give our bodies enough time to rest and recuperate, and we don't give our brains enough time to rest and recuperate either. But yeah, it is a worry for people. If your dog has gone off the food, he hasn't eaten for 24 hours or what have you, then do refrain from giving them any treats, because just little nibbles is going to keep it going. But do look at my blog on fussy eaters and start off with the opportunistic method. And it's just puppies also, 4 months old coming into adolescence, and that they're going to start sort of putting the brakes on and saying no, and I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. I did do it and now I'm not, with all sorts of behaviors. Not just feeding. It's just one way of them also just taking a little bit of control and to get you to make a big fuss. If you make a big fuss, the dog is going to make a bigger fuss. So just be really calm about it. Have a go at the blog with the opportunistic method and recall method with flash frying, getting those lovely juices going with the food, and just don't make a fuss, don't talk, just make it happen.
Yeah, don't panic. They'll pick up. Yeah. Also, yeah, I mean, also, there's nothing wrong with popping down the vets if you think you've got any concerns at all, like overly concerns. But
absolutely,
a dog will never starve itself. And make sure no one's feeding it on the sly in the family.
Yeah, that's also a thing, isn't it? But yeah, also, if you've got an older dog who's been eating eating really, really well, and your own dog, if your dog is not so well, there'll be other indications as well. But as Mark said, if you're at all worried, then just pop it down to the vet. Hopefully a holistic vet, rather than one saying, well, you mustn't feed raw.
Yeah. Oh, get on this shape.
Oh, that's the reason.
Yeah, so interesting. You bought heart and turkey. Now, did you cut that up on the counter, for example? Because another thing that they like to do after a while is they learn that they want to eat bits of your eating. So just be wary of that. Like the way to test this is if you have your normal raw food from Bella+Duke and then put some on the floor that looks like you've been cutting it up and doing it and making it and you've been eating it, just watch what happens as well. Because they might just be a wee bit manipulative and sneaky. They're not daft, wee doggies. They're not daft.
Yeah, so that's my opportunistic method, Mark. If you've read my blog, you're fiddling around on the counter, and then you flick a little bit off the table. Yeah, see?
Hello, sailor.
When I come up next, I'm going to pin you down, and you can jolly well read some of this stuff that I've been writing.
Okay, you heard you. Just going to pin you down. Well, on that bombshell, thank you everyone for listening today. Welcome to everybody to the community who's new today. It's exciting. They're all joining us and getting the message out. And as always, love to see photographs and stories. Get the message out there. Come and say hi on the Facebook group. If you can listen to our podcast and just give us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would be fabulous. Or jump over onto our YouTube channel. We try and update that as well. And
yeah, but you know, and Rowan's written some lovely blogs on nutrition, and I've done some on behaviour. Have a really good search through the website. There's loads of information there, as well as the podcast, as Mark just said.
And we're adding more all the time. So your feedback is wonderful. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your lunch.